Knuckleheads, welcome to the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua post-fight live show. I'm your host of FightersRep, Fez, and I gotta say, man, that outcome was interesting but expected. Now, I'm sorry I didn't drop my prediction earlier in the week. I've had a very busy week. I want to get at you guys at least every other day. Try to drop a video, at the very least a short, every day about the sport of boxing, about sports in general, but especially about the sport of boxing, because Fighters Rep is where you get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about the sport of boxing. But I did drop a prediction immediately before the event. And I said, listen, Jake Paul is going to get knocked out today, right? The only thing that was going to prevent a knockout of Jake Paul today was some sort of crazy act of God or some sort of contractual agreement that nobody knew about. That was the only thing that could have prevented a knockout of Jake Paul today, and that just didn't happen. Jake Paul got absolutely obliterated. Now, I will give him credit the way Anthony Joshua did, right? He went 6 rounds. He tried his best. And in very small spurts, he was effective, right? He did land a couple jabs here and there, a couple right hands here and there. But the right hands, man, it was like throwing a hard winging right hand at a tank and watching it just bounce off. He just did not have the firepower to stop a guy like Anthony Joshua. And I knew that this was going to happen. It took a little bit longer than a lot of people expected. But if you understand the sport of boxing and you understand the way Anthony Joshua fights, you understand he's a plodding guy. And Jake Paul just being the smaller, kind of quicker on his feet guy, which is, almost surprising to say until you realize Jake Paul was a pretty good athlete and a wrestler and has been boxing for 5 years and is the smaller cruiserweight guy. It's not that much of a surprise, but it is a surprise. You would expect a little bit more if you're a casual fan coming into this from Anthony Joshua. You would expect him to maybe get Jake Paul out of there in 1 or 2 rounds. But, in watching the fight, you remember, right? You get this idea before the fight in your head, oh, he's just going to kill him in 1 or 2 rounds, which is what I thought. But then you remember, right? You watch Anthony Joshua sort of plod forward. He's never been fleet-footed. He's never been quick in the feet. But what he is tenacious. He keeps coming. And if he hits you, you're in big, big trouble. Okay? And that's exactly what happened today. He landed a couple punches on Jake Paul, got him up into the corner, knocked him down 4 times total in this fight, got him up into the corner. Jake Paul was completely out of gas, hit him with a straight right hand, and completely blasted him. And you could see Jake Paul's reaction as he hit the floor. He went, woo, like Ric Flair. He ain't never felt that kind of power before in his life. And Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul gave the people what they wanted to see. They gave the people what they wanted to see. When did the fight start? Says Abdul Men'em Abu Risha. Shout out Abdul Men'em Abu Risha. By the way, any comments, suggestions, questions that you guys have here, drop them in the comment section. I'll answer them. We'll go back and forth. That's what we do after all the big fights here in boxing. And subscribe and join the Fighters Rep, where you get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, from the mind of a promoter / attorney. For those of you that don't know, I promoted kickboxing for 7 years. I am an attorney. I love the sport of boxing. I grew up on it, and that's what we do. So, bunch of people in the chat right now. Appreciate you guys being in here asking who won. Well, Anthony Joshua won, as I said he would, by knockout, just like I said he would in the 6th round. Now, I won't say it was a fabulous prediction, right? I'm not surprised at all. That's why I predicted Anthony Joshua to win by knockout. But it's incredible to me how many people must have tuned into this fight thinking that Jake Paul actually had a chance of winning this fight. If you thought Jake Paul, and I'm not trying to insult anyone, you guys, all of you are entitled to your opinions, and opinions are going to vary depending on how much experience you have maybe in fighting or watching fights, or if you really love the sport and follow it closely. The opinions will vary. But I would love to know from the chat, how many of you actually thought Jake Paul was going to win this fight? I just want to know, because I think, as Anthony McKinn 6050 is saying in the chat right now, Jake Paul is an effing entrepreneurial genius. Guys, he gave the public exactly what they wanted to see. KJ Johnson, the answer is Anthony Joshua, knockout, round number 6, just like we said he would on this channel. Lot of comments rolling in. I can't believe Jake won, says Dave Hedgehog. He didn't win, guys. He didn't win. Abdulmunem, the fight started hours ago. I mean, there was a whole undercard. The fight itself, I mean, it only went 6 rounds. So I would say it started about half an hour ago. But, there was a big, long undercard. You had Anderson Silva under there. You had Alicia Baumgardner under there. A bunch of people were on there. But, it was set for 8 rounds. It went 6 rounds. A lot of people were impressed that Jake Paul lasted 6 rounds against a guy like Anthony Joshua. But when you watch it, he really was kind of in there surviving, trying to sneak in an occasional shot here and there. And what was shocking, but not really shocking to me, was the fact that he was completely gassed out. This guy was completely gassed out, knuckleheads, by that 6th round. I mean, it could have been because he'd eaten enough shots and been knocked down a bunch of times, combined with the fact that he was pretty much scooting around for his life to get away from Anthony Joshua. And he did a good job avoiding big punches and damage. But he just couldn't last. I mean, there's only so much you can do at that size, right? Even if you're training for it, moving side to side and trying to get away from a guy like Anthony Joshua who's hitting you with big shots. So yeah, Jake lost. Peyton Thrower seems pretty excited about that in the chat. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'll greatly appreciate it. I drop content almost daily on this channel about boxing. We get together as a community, Knucklehead Nation, on this channel almost on the daily. And if you guys join or anything you donate to this channel, just helps me continue to grow it, try to get you guys interviews and drop more content. For those of you that don't know, I was a promoter of kickboxing for 7 years. The fights are on the channel, but I'm no longer doing that. I've kind of transitioned over to just talking about the fights. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Crazy freak show. Some people are saying they thought it was fake. That's an interesting take. Also, anyone else think it was fake? Look, I don't think this fight was fake. I don't think this fight was fake. I will say, and Anthony McKenna is in here saying the fight perfectly choreographed. I don't think this fight was fake. I think if anything, potentially Anthony Joshua, and he kept alluding to this, guys. He said 15 months out of the ring. 15 months out of the ring. He said it over and over again. This guy is just trying to get his legs back under him after being 15 months out of the ring so that he could knock Jake Paul out after getting some ring time, right? As much as he could. Maybe he might have carried Jake a little bit in this fight, but that wasn't a fake knockout. And he may have actually broken Jake Paul's jaw. I don't know if you guys saw the post-fight interview where Jake Paul spit out blood, said he thought his jaw was broken, and said he got to let his jaw heal. But here's what Anthony Joshua did, if you know about combat sports. I think he was just trying to get his legs under him. He'd been out of the ring for a very long time. He wanted to get his legs under him. He wanted a nice little tune-up fight so that he could walk up to Ariel Helwani in the post-fight interview, knuckleheads, and say, I want Tyson Fury. Now, Anthony Joshua just got paid crazy money for this fight on Netflix, right? He's a happy man, knuckleheads. By the way, subscribe if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate it, Knucklehead Nation. Be a part of it. I greatly appreciate you subscribing and being part of Knucklehead Nation and joining the channel and get your Fighters Rep merchandise in the link below. Listen, Anthony Joshua just made a ton of money, an absolute ton of money, right? But he also just called out Tyson Fury for a fight that's not only going to make more huge money for Anthony Joshua, but this is potentially a legacy-defining fight for Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, guys, those are two guys from the UK where, in my opinion, you have the best boxing fans on the planet. Each guy independently can fill up an arena. Imagine what they're going to do when they fight each other. This was all a setup to make a ton of money and fight Tyson Fury. Bird656 thinks the fight was fake. I don't think it's fake at all. I didn't think it was fake at all. I think Francis Ngannou, you can't compare the Francis Ngannou fight. Ngannou, guys, thought he was actually going to go in there and beat up, I think, Anthony Joshua after his performance with Tyson Fury. He wasn't running around and scooting around the ring the way Jake Paul was in this fight. Jake Paul, make no mistake, was in there trying to survive and trying to land an occasional shot here and there, you know, probably to save face and make it look like he was actually trying. But and Anthony Joshua was taking his time in there. I don't know if you guys saw, he was just plodding. That's kind of how Anthony Joshua fights. He just plods, gets you into a corner, gets you against the ropes and tees off. And that's what he did to Jake Paul. But I don't think it was fake. You know, I really don't think it was fake. That being said, this sets up the fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, which, as I've said, is probably the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing. Scratch that. It is the biggest fight as far as generating money and viewership in heavyweight boxing. Even though Alexander Usyk is the man, knuckleheads, don't get me wrong. Shout out Alexander Usyk. He is the man. I think he's number one in the world. Obviously, he's the man who beat the man. But when you're talking about revenue generating, legacy building, massive domestic fights, the biggest heavyweight fight that you can make, not just domestically, but internationally, but it helps that, you know, the UK is the home of the biggest and best fight fans in the world. You're talking Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. And here's another thing that I wanted to tell you guys, right? This is something, you know, again, as somebody who promoted fights for 7 years, as somebody who's been watching boxing for a very long time, this is something that I said before this fight in the lead up on this channel, right? And that is that Anthony Joshua is a guy who's still at the top of the heavyweight division or very close to it. I still think he's top 5, top 10, easy, right? And the reason I say that is because Anthony Joshua was on an absolute tear. Anthony Joshua, you guys, was on an absolute tear before getting knocked out by Daniel Dubois. And if you watch that fight against Daniel Dubois, he was hurt early in the fight, so it kind of screwed the fight up for him. But then he hurt Daniel Dubois, and he went in there for the kill. He risked it all. He went in there for the kill, and he got caught, right? So he was hurt. Then he hurt Dubois. He went in there for the finish, and he got knocked out. Before that, I felt, before that, in the few fights before that, that Anthony Joshua was looking like the best fighter, the best version of himself that we had seen in years. Anthony Joshua looked like the best version of himself in years. And you guys are in here, getting mad at each other. This is hilarious. Shout out to Spitfire Steak 54. She says, this fight was hilarious. Jake played in our face, and then Spitfire Steak just leaves us on the edge of our seats. She just writes he's, and then she stops. Spitfire, you should be like some sort of author, because you've got us on the edge of our seats. We want you to finish that thought. By the way, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel, join the channel, become a member of FightersRep's Knucklehead Nation. I greatly appreciate having you guys here. If you don't know, this is where you get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, in the sport of boxing, from the mind of an attorney / promoter. Both AJ, Wilder, and Fury are done at World Championship level. Look, Anthony, I got to disagree with you on that one. I think Wilder is done at World Championship level. But when you're talking about AJ and Fury, you're still talking about a couple of the best heavyweights in the world. The only guy to beat Fury is Alexander Usyk, the #1 guy. And one of the only guys to beat Anthony Joshua is Alexander Usyk, the #1 guy. And they both lost via decision. It's not like these guys got blown out. Will there be a post-conference live stream? I'm sure there is one somewhere on the YouTube, you guys. But this is the Fighters Rep, where I just give you guys my thoughts on the fight. And if you're just joining us, Anthony Joshua gets the job done for some people in delayed fashion with a 6th round knockout over Jake Paul, who may have broken his jaw in the process of proving to everybody that this fight was not fake. And, and that's why I think people saying that this was fake, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit crazy, because I do think Anthony Joshua wasn't really going 100% from the beginning of this fight. I do think he was just trying to get some ring time in preparation for that Tyson Fury fight coming up. And I do think that Jake Paul did his best here, running out of gas completely in the 6th round, unable to run away from Anthony Joshua's hammer. And he just got taken out in the 6th round by a brutal straight right hand that, again, may have broken his jaw. Now, he's talking about coming back. He's talking about coming back and going for a cruiserweight title, which I don't think is completely impossible, right? Jake Paul does seem to have pretty decent movement, at heavyweight, which is what this fight was at, and at cruiserweight, which is just one weight down, unless you're WBC, and then we're talking about Bridgerweight. But at cruiserweight, he's going to maintain that ability to move. He's a pretty athletic guy, and he does have a decent right hand. He landed it a couple times on Anthony Joshua. Didn't seem to have much of an effect, but, it was a pretty clean shot at times, and I think a guy his size might have more difficulty taking it. I do think Jake Paul, and I hope this is the end, or at least he takes a break from the gimmicky fights. But I do want to see Jake Paul now actually try. I think I would be more interested as a boxing fan to watch Jake Paul actually try to make a career in the cruiserweight, actually go for a legitimate run at a title at cruiserweight, because, he does have the size. He's got some athleticism. He's got a lot of money and resources on his side. He's the events are exciting, but a little bit goofy. I did notice the crowd down in my hometown of Miami, shout out to the 305, getting a little bit restless. They were getting a little bit restless, knuckleheads, in those first few rounds. They wanted to see some action. They eventually got it. But look, I think Jake Paul has a lot going for him, and I think people will take him more seriously, along with his promotion, if he gives it an actual go in the cruiserweight division. Like my boy Michael Paulston, 7106, He says, I agree. Stop the freak shows and have a proper go, or just go. I think we want to see Jake Paul really make a run. How interesting would that be? 5 years, YouTube fighter, knocked out a bunch of people that were sort of over the hill, MMA fighters, this and that, slowly inched his way towards actual fighters, actual boxers, right? And imagine him now shifting gears. Okay, I got all these people watching Netflix. I got all these people watching my MVP promotions. I got all these people supporting me, hardcore fight fans, casual fight fans, because I'm blowing up the women's division and I'm doing all kinds of good things for boxing. Let me now create a reality show on YouTube, right, where I am the real life Rocky, where I try to be an actual boxer and make a run at the title in the cruiserweight division. If I was advising Jake the Snake, who was dressed as the Hulkster today, but he should have been dressed as Jake the Snake. But if I was advising Jake the Snake, I would tell him to do that. I would tell him to do that. Knock says 267 million per split, 50-50, win-win. Bro, listen. If you want to knock me out and break my jaw for that much money, I'm doing it, bro. Whoever you guys want me to fight, listen. Whoever you guys want me to fight, the FightersRep fans, whoever you want me to fight for that much money, I'll fight them. I'll fight their whole team for that much money, back to back. I mean, that is a wild amount of money, and that is absolutely a win-win. I don't think the fight was fake, says Spitfire Steak, but it was comedic given how Jake had fallen down and grabbing AJ's legs. And I think, interestingly enough, and going to your point, Spitfire, I do think that actually legitimizes this fight, right? And makes it more realistic and makes us believe it actually was real, because he wouldn't have been all over the floor like that had he not been giving it his all and just burning himself out. You know what I mean? So I actually think that legitimizes what we saw here. Bird656 says, fight Jake, dude, for that much money. I would absolutely. And Gumbo Biddy Real, man, I'm with you, man. Listen, I'll fight anybody for that much money, dude. It don't matter, dude. I mean, just don't kill me, right? I want to live, and I don't want any permanent damage. But my goodness, the Duber says, hey, bud, be honest and stop lying. What are we lying about? What are we lying about? He will never fight for a belt. Did you now just watch Anthony smoke him? But Jake, here's what you're not understanding. Jake, here's what you're not understanding. The guy he fought, Anthony Joshua, was one of the best heavyweights on the planet. Jake Paul doesn't have half the experience that guy has, and is also not a natural heavyweight. If anything, he should go down to cruiserweight. He's a natural cruiserweight. There's weight divisions for a reason. He was towering over Jake Paul. If Jake Paul takes this thing seriously, and goes for running cruiserweight, which has always been a thinner division for the most part, right? Except when Alexander Usyk and Myris Bradis was in there and Evander Holyfield. But generally speaking, the cruiserweight division, knuckleheads, is a weak division. And that's because people don't grow up in combat sports in a boxing world. They don't say, I want to grow up to be the cruiserweight champion of the world. No, come on. People say, dad, mom, coach, I want to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And cruiserweight is the weight division right underneath it. So it's the redheaded stepchild of boxing is the cruiserweight division, which is crazy because you look over to the MMA and the UFC, and the essential equivalent to cruiserweight over there is light heavyweight. And man, that division has always been popping off because you've always had crazy talent there, right? Lyoto Machida, John Jones, Shogun Hua, Rampage Jackson, Chuck Liddell. That's the glory division in MMA, right? But boxing, it just goes to show you how different the marketing in boxing is. I don't think the fight was fake. Let's read what Gumbo Biddy Rel says. By the way, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Join the channel. Become a part of Knucklehead Nation. We do this live after every fight, every big fight. I go live. I'm here for you, baby. I go live after every fight, and you'll get the goods from the mind of a promoter / attorney. Your boy, the Fighters Rep. Also, man, follow me on Instagram, Fighters Rep or Fighters Rep Fez. Gumbo Biddy Rel says the fight was real. AJ said he was toying with him. Kind of was. I agree with you, Gumbo. And wanted to torture him through the rounds. I believe him. He would throw punches with power, slow as hell, barely missing. He was playing with him. He was playing with his food. He was playing with his gumbo. He was playing with his gumbo. What does this say about the Tyson versus Jake previous fight now? I don't think it says much. You know, I think we all knew Tyson. Listen, Mike Tyson was 65 years old, knuckleheads. 65 years old. He was older than Joe Louis was when they were referencing him in the barbershop and Coming to America. He was old. He had no shot. About 1.5, 2 rounds into it, you saw Tyson gas. The way Jake Paul gassed today, 6th round, he was done. He was done because he was moving around, wrestling, grappling, a guy much bigger than him, getting hit with big shots. Even if they weren't landing clean, a lot of them, they still hurt. They still cause damage. And that's what happens. That's what happens. Maybe not fake, but that was a garbage fight for the amount of money and hype. Jake had 1% chance. Look how many people tuned in. Look how many people tuned in. Flame Imaginations asking who won. Guys, Anthony Joshua, if you're just joining us, won by knockout in the 6th round, just as we predicted on this channel. Listen, I want to tell you guys something. As someone who promoted in the state of California, I promoted kickboxing. In the state of California, not just in the amateur level, but on the professional level. I also promoted in Florida. Shout out to my hometown, Miami, which, you know, it went down over there tonight. I want to tell you, as somebody who promoted in the state of California, you can't just rig these fights, bro. Guys, you can't just rig these fights, bro. As a promoter, what happens is I don't get to pick the judges, the referees, the commissioner, the head commissioner. I don't get to pick this stuff. You know, you would literally, I mean, to rig stuff, you would literally have to somehow pay somebody at the state. I mean, you're risking, I don't know how many years in prison. I mean, imagine you would have to pay like the guy they send to run the entire event for you. I mean, it's crazy. Maybe the mafia and these dudes were able to do it back in the day, but that's why when people tell me, oh, this fight's going to be rigged and this fight is fake and this and that, it wasn't even an exhibition. This was a real fight. They didn't make this an exhibition, guys. They made this a real fight. Now, you can contract an exhibition and kind of change the rules a little bit in that, okay, instead of, for example, we could say instead of 10-ounce gloves, which is the standard in California, right? 12-ounce gloves. Instead of maybe 3-minute rounds, let's go 2-minute rounds or something like that. I mean, you can make a couple changes here and there. But to straight up rig a fight, you guys, I mean, it's a little bit of a fantasy. It's a little bit of a fantasy. And you guys can ask me about that all you want. Again, I promoted here and in Florida. But here's something I'm seeing in the chat, right? I'm seeing don't give Jake credit, right? Here we go. I want to address this. Bro, why doesn't Jake get credit? Says Sunoi 1111. By the way, guys, if it's your first time here, subscribe to the channel. We go live after all the big fights. Join the channel to help me continue to grow. I drop almost daily content about boxing for the most part, but I'll talk about all sports. And I wanted to address this. He deserves all the praise for even stepping into the ring tonight. Look, no, Shafi Ali, we don't do post-fight interviews with the fighters here, at least not in this situation. I'm just giving you guys my thoughts. Listen, Jake Paul absolutely deserves praise for going in there and taking a real fight against Anthony Joshua, right? But here's where I disagree as somebody who's not only been a fight fan, but a promoter for a very long time. You got paid. You split a $270-something million pot. Now, let me ask you guys, right? I want you to type yes or no in the chat for me right now. There's almost 300 of you. There's over 300 of you in the chat right now. Which, by the way, no super chats. If you want to support me, support the channel. I greatly appreciate a super chat. Yes or no? Just type yes or no. Would you fight Anthony Joshua for $100 million? Would you? Yes or no? So that's what you guys have to think about when you think about praise for taking a fight, right? I give him praise. Look, we already got 2 yeses. Yes or no, would you fight Jake Paul? Forget $100 million. $10 million. $10 million. Would you fight Jake Paul? Look at this. $1 million. Look at this. Look at this. I would fight for $500K. So a lot of times I hear fighters, and all respect to fighters, you know, all respect to the fighters and fight fans. But I hear people say, I hear fighters especially, I think I heard Kamaru Usman say the other day, oh, we put our lives on the line to entertain other people. No. That is not why you put your life on the line and go in there in the octagon or go in there in the ring. That is not. You are a prize fighter. You go in there to make money. By the way, big shout out to my boy, New Dad with a Cam. Love watching your breakdown. What's up from your old stomping ground? Shout out to you, man. Really appreciate the super chat, brother. I look forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully, man. I hope to see you soon. Listen, who in here, Zadrian Disney is the only one that said no. Who in here would not fight Anthony Joshua for $1 million? I'm putting $1 million. Which one of you would not fight Anthony Joshua for $1 million? Yes or no in the chat? J Nick, let's hear it. And by the way, thank you again, New Dad with a Cam, for that super chat, man. You're the man, dude, and I miss you. Paul's strategy was to run, clinch, sneak punches, and hope to steal rounds. He might have won round 1, but it was clear what he was doing, and AJ was just toying with his food. Listen, I can't agree more. I can't agree more. I can't agree more. You know, so I can't, and look, I can't really praise Jake Paul too much, right? I'll tell you what I'll praise him for, what I won't praise him for. You guys tell me what you think. I will not praise him for fighting Anthony Joshua. That was too much money to say no. There's too much money. I would not praise him for fighting Anthony Joshua with a pot that they're splitting of 260, 270 million. No, you're not going to get praise from me for that. You will get praise for actually going in there and trying to fight. I mean, he was trying to fight, right? He was trying to keep getting up. He was trying to give people a show. So he does get praise for that from me. Credit Credit to Jake Paul for that. The other thing, right, and I don't want you guys to skim over this. I want everybody here in Knucklehead Nation, subscribe and become a part of Knucklehead Nation. I want everybody to understand what he did tonight. He put Alicia Baumgardner in there with, I believe her name was Layla. I can't pronounce that last name. Baudouin, maybe Baudouin. He gave a lot of shine to women's boxing today, increased the rounds, which I think is going to make women's boxing a lot more exciting. You're going to get a lot more knockdowns and knockouts, right? That's where he deserves a lot of credit. He puts a lot of love. He gives a lot of love to the undercard, right? He gives a lot of love to the former legends, the guys like Anderson Silva, who won by knockout against Tyron Woodley tonight. Shout out to both of them. Both of those guys deserve a payday. Both of those guys put in work in their respective sports. You know what I mean? If anything, I would like to see even more boxing prospects come up. He does a great job, I think, and he deserves praise for the way that he's elucidating. There's that vocabulary for you guys. The way he's elucidating prospects and people who are not given the attention they deserve in the sport. So that's where I appreciate and praise Jake Paul. But if you're going to ask me, being the man that I am, right? Being the man that I am, if you're going to ask me whether I should praise him for taking this fight, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And he does deserve credit. Look, he went in there and he tried. And he got dropped 4 times. And listen, I think he might have broken his jaw for real. I think he might have broken his jaw for real. Which, by the way, guys, if you think Jake Paul broke his jaw, press 1 in the chat. If you think he didn't break his jaw, press 2. But if you think his jaw got broken tonight, which I felt got broken, press the number 1. And you could see him. The way he reacted to that punch from Anthony Joshua that ended the fight, you could see it in his face. He said, woo! He said, damn, he brought back the Ric Flair. He said, man, that's what it feels like to get hit by a heavyweight fighter. That's what it feels like to get hit by a heavyweight champion. Now, another thing I wanted to say to you guys and ask you guys in the chat, do you think this fight made Anthony Joshua look bad? I think that's a big question, right? Because he called out Tyson Fury in the aftermath for, again, what I think is the biggest fight that can happen in heavyweight boxing. Probably the biggest fight that could happen in boxing. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. If we're talking numbers, right? Maybe with the exception of a Canelo, David Benavidez, or Terrence Crawford, Canelo rematch or something like that. But Fury AJ is one of the biggest fights that could happen in boxing. Do you think AJ was made to look bad tonight, Knucklehead Nation? Let me know in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. He was there toying with his food and doing what boxing wanted to put Paul in his place after the Tyson fight. That's another thing I'll give praise. That's another thing I'll give praise to Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua for. They gave the public, you guys got to admit this now. You guys got to admit this. They gave the public what it wanted to see. If you got what you wanted to see in this fight, which is a Jake Paul knockout, Jake Paul getting knocked out, if that's what you wanted to see, type 1 in the chat. Type the number 1 in the chat if that's what you wanted to see. Because I feel that Jake Paul, has become so obnoxious and so hated in the world, in the boxing circles, by casuals, by everyone else, that's what people tuned in for. That's what people tuned in for. Look at all these ones we got. Paul Levin is celebrating right now, man. Shout out to Paul Levin, celebrating. M. Rivers, the same. M. Rivers, the same. I'm glad they both got home safe, but also glad he got a smack. Listen, he gave the people what they wanted. Gumbo Biddy Rel, you clever little man. What do you mean by 1-2? Why are you doing this to me, Gumbo? You just got here. You're already causing problems. One with small compassion, says Cutthroat 49er. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I tuned in to watch the underdog give his best shot against someone far bigger and better than he is, and his game plan got the fight feather than anyone expected. I think he meant further than anyone expected. Suno, you seem like a big fan of Jake Paul, and I respect what he did tonight. And I've stated the reasons, giving shine to the undercard, giving shine to the ladies, actually trying to go out there and win, getting back up over and over again. What is it about Jake Paul that's landing with you? Let me know. If you guys like Jake Paul, right? Because a lot of people here are annoyed by Jake Paul. But if you guys like Jake Paul, the ones of you that didn't tune in to watch him get knocked out, but tuned in to watch him win, let me know in the chat why. I want to know why. I'm interested. Ben Nuh 9424 says it was scripted to last more than 5 rounds. Ben, I appreciate the opinion, but I got to disagree, man. I got to disagree. I think Anthony Joshua probably allowed it to last that long. JNick8252 says public wanted a KO. If you wanted a job in round 1, you probably were betting and bought into the hype of a quick knockout when AJ said exactly what he would do in the pre-fight press conference. Yep, deal with him slowly, torture him, get him out of there. But listen, brilliant 2-for-1. Brilliant 2-for-1 by Jake Paul, allowing himself to get some in-ring time, right? After being out of the ring for 15 months, knuckleheads, it's a big deal. Activity is a big deal. I'll tell you that as somebody who promoted for 7 years. 2-for-1 special, like Timothy Bradley was talking about today, or whenever it was. He was recently on Andre Ward's podcast. 2-for-1 special. Anthony Joshua got the 2-for-1 in that he warmed his legs up, got himself a tune-up fight, right? Kept it going as long as he could. Made a ton of money doing so, and then called out Tyson Fury for the 2-for-1 special. He's trying to get that 2-for-1 deal. Any thoughts on Tank missing his payday? By the way, Gumbo Biddy Rel, he is an antagonist walking out with Tekashi 69. That is it, man. That's what he does. He's an instigator, bro. He's there to piss you off so that you tune in to watch him get knocked out, and the boxing public got what they wanted. But are they going to want more now? Or does the story now become, can Jake Paul return from a broken jaw and actually make a run at cruiserweight after proving he could last with a gold medalist, heavyweight champion of the world, still one of the best heavyweights for 6 rounds? Any thoughts on Tank missing this payday? Yes, I got big thoughts on Tank missing this. I think it sucks that Tank missed this. Listen, shout out to everybody in Knucklehead Nation. Shout out to everybody in Knucklehead Nation. Please subscribe if you haven't. Join the channel, subscribe to the channel, become part of Knucklehead Nation. Please drop a super chat or get your merchandise below. I'd greatly appreciate you. as much as I love everybody in here and as much as I love every country, it's got to be America first. And so when I think about Tank Davis, I think about one of the most exciting American stars and fighters, bar none. I support him. I want to see the guy win. He keeps getting in his own way for whatever reason. Maybe he's just burnt out and disgusted by the sport. Maybe he just wants to get away from it. That happened to me last year with the sport of kickboxing. That's why I stopped promoting myself. But I think he's a fantastic person for the sport of boxing when he's not getting in his own way. I think he's incredibly exciting, and I wanted to see him get this payday, and I think he would have won this fight against Jake Paul. I think Tank Davis would have probably knocked Jake Paul out. But it is what it is. It is what it is, and it's sad to see, and I hope he can turn it around. Now, on the other hand, the guy does seem like he's getting a little bit sick. By the way, is that a sovereign citizen hat by S. Broussard? Actually, it's not. This is a fez, right? This is a fez. And I wear it not just because, you know, it looks nice on the YouTube channel and on the video, but this is actually an homage for you guys that don't know. My grandfathers on both sides wore this. My grandfathers on both sides wore this as a part of their traditional outfits, right? I have pictures in black and white. I'll try to post them at some point. But my grandfathers wore this, so I do it as an homage. I do it, you know, to show love to the culture. I do it to give a little bit more pizzazz to the videos, to stand out a little bit in a crowd of boxing pundits. And because I'm different. I am different. I'm 100% different. Let me tell you guys a little bit about me, and then we'll move on. I'm a little bit different. I speak 3 languages. I'm an attorney. I was a kickboxing promoter for 7 years, and that's why I tell you, you get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, from the mind of a promoter/attorney when you subscribe to the Fighters Rep. So not a sovereign citizen hat, but an homage, a little bit of fun too. Do you think Jake Paul should be investigated or Netflix for his boxing career? It's obviously not 100% legit. You know, you need to have some evidence of a lack of legitimacy to do something like that, maybe start an investigation. And I don't think it's not legitimate. You know, I think he's fought people at his level or just beneath his level, like many boxers do till now. And listen, having promoted fights and been around fighters and been around boxing and everything else, you know, there are many boxers and many trainers that will take their fighters to other countries to build up their record. 10-0, 15-0, 20-0, fighting bus drivers and, you know, food truck owners, janitors, or whatever it is, building up their record so they can come back to the States and sell themselves to a promoter with a good record. So no less legitimate, in my opinion, is Jake Paul than a lot of these guys. In fact, I would argue that when you compare his pro boxing career to some pro boxers, he's actually taken on more challenges, right? He's actually taken on more challenges. Now that's not to say that he's taken on incredible challenges, because again, I'm just saying, relatively speaking, right? I mean, you've got guys going to other countries fighting kids that got no shot. They got no shot. At least Jake Paul was in there, you know, and I appreciate you, Nate. I appreciate you. By the way, if you haven't already subscribed, listen, at least, Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, of course, these guys are not boxers, but they had a shot. They had a shot. Tommy Fury was a legit opponent, and obviously tonight, Anthony Joshua was a legitimate opponent. You got Sunoy saying, look, these are some good examples. Mike Perry, he is a bare knuckle boxing champion, completely different sport, if we're being fair. But, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't go as far as to say he's any less legitimate than a lot of fighters. I mean, if you go back and look at some of your favorite fighters and who they were fighting in their first 10 to 20 fights, I mean, and you look at their records, you could do this on BoxRec. You could do a little audit. You could do a little audit on BoxRec. You guys would be like, damn. My question is, how do you go from Davis to AJ? Listen, J. Nick, I think he was just... and Nate, for sure, would love to link, bro. For sure, would love to link. J. Nick, look, the question, how he goes from Davis to AJ, both big money. Both big money fights, outrageous fights that he thinks is going to bring eyes to Netflix and maybe secure his deal with Netflix a little bit more. So hopefully we could turn around right here, baby, and go for some cruiserweight gold. That's what I want to see from Jake Paul. I want to see him go for cruiserweight gold. Buckle down, nose to the grindstone. Let's get serious about this thing. Let's work. Let's go after that cruiserweight gold. That's what I want to see. I want to see a legitimate boxing career after this. That's what I want to see. So, I mean, he went from that to that because he's just trying to get eyes. He's just trying to get money. He's just trying to get attention and maybe springboard into something hopefully better, something more serious. AJ would have seriously hurt Jake in the first round if it was completely real. Obviously, there was some stipulations in the contract. No, I don't think you could put that kind of stipulation in the contract. I don't think it would be sanctioned, to be honest. You guys got to remember. Right? The athletic commissions are the states. You would have to get the state government, right, pretty much on board with committing fraud on the public. It's just, I'm just telling you guys as someone, don't listen to me. I only promoted for 7 years. What do I know in 2 different states? You would have to get the state to sanction fraud. $250 million on the line, you could pay off the Pope. And if you get caught paying off the athletic commission on an event that's being circulated via interstate commerce all over the country, all over the world, I mean, I can't imagine what sort of level of federal crime we're talking about. Anyway, he's a content creator. He knows how to sell it and will at least give a shot. You got to be aware into it. Listen, 200-something million on the line. You're fighting. Listen, that kind of money, you guys are fighting your mother for that kind of money. You fight your father for that kind of money. That's a lot of money, you guys. That's a lot of money. Okay, perhaps the stipulations weren't expressly stated in the written contract. Still, it wasn't completely real. I disagree. I think Anthony Joshua just went in there plotting, taking it easy. Like I said, getting some ring time under his belt. Been out the ring 15 months since being knocked out by Daniel Dubois. Went in there, got some ring time, tried to extend it a bit, right? If it's not real, which I don't consider it not real, extending the fight to get more experience. I think he was just trying to get some experience so he could have a tune-up fight for that Tyson Fury fight that he called for afterwards. I think his career is 90% rigged. AJ should have hit him with a straight right every chance he had without danger. I appreciate you playing devil's advocate, but come on. He 007 says, I'd fight my toddler. 270 for 270 million. We got Heat going crazy in here. Hey, man. Hey, man. It didn't look real. We don't know. I thought it looked real. Look, guys. AJ, okay. Follow me for a second, right? Follow me for a second. And I'm going to put Sunoi's message here on the thing, and then I'll get to it afterwards. By the way, subscribe if you haven't already. Join the channel if you haven't already. Join Knucklehead Nation. Look, follow me for a second, right? Imagine you're AJ. Jake Paul offers you a fight, $270 million pot. We're going to split it 50-50. You're saying yes. Unless you're absolutely nuts, you're saying yes. Now, you're not going to, you're probably not, especially you got knocked out in your last fight. You've been out the ring 15 months, and you know your next move is Tyson Fury in 2026. Are you going to want to go in there and blast the guy out of there in 30 seconds? Or are you going to want to go in there? Now, I'm just talking to you guys. Put yourselves in the position of AJ. Put yourself in the position of trainer. Put yourself in the position of manager. Put yourself in the position of Eddie Hearn, the promoter. $270 million for both are split. I believe it's a split, Nebula. So you're getting $135 million. You know if you win this, and it's probably going to be an easy win, the next move is Tyson Fury for the biggest heavyweight fight in British boxing history. And probably the biggest heavyweight fight in history period up until when it happens. I mean, there's no bigger heavyweight fight than Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. As great as Alexander Usyk is, he's the best. But these guys are still two of the best that everybody's been wanting to watch forever. If you're Anthony Joshua or his trainer, his advisor, his promoter, his mother, his grandmother, his baby mama, whatever you are, you tell him to go in there against Jake Paul, who's paying you $135 million, and get him out in 30 seconds? Or do you say to yourself, let me ease my way into this. Let me get some in-ring activity. Let me warm up and make this a real tune-up fight in front of all these people under all these lights where people don't typically perform the way they do in the gym. Let me go and get some of this rust off. Let me get some of these cobwebs off. And let me slowly break this guy down the way I said I would in the press conference. And then let me get him the hell out of there. But let me not do it in 30 seconds. Because then Netflix is going to say, and Jake Paul is going to say, and everybody's going to say, oh, hell no, we don't want that guy in here again. That wasn't exciting at all. You need to play the game. And Anthony Joshua was playing the game, in my opinion, properly, giving himself the opportunity to shake off some rust, giving himself the opportunity to give the fans what they're looking for on Netflix, giving himself the opportunity to work with MVP Promotions and Jake Paul again with all that money he just threw in his face, giving himself a beautiful segue into another legacy-defining, generational wealth building fight against Tyson Fury. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. I just sold that to you guys. Money. You got it. I even got to say I sold that to you guys money. I'm curious, FightersRep, what do you think the next steps are now for Jake? Is he going to continue calling out the big dogs or drop down a few leagues soon? No, I think if he's smart, bro, he has got to come back, right, and make it a serious career in the cruiserweight division and literally try to make it legitimate and to go after a belt at cruiserweight, which is one of the weakest divisions in boxing because those cruiserweights always leave to go to heavyweight, just like Alexander Usyk did, just like Murat Gassiev did, just like Evander Holyfield did. These guys leave cruiserweight, you guys. They don't stick around. It's not the glamour division. Boxing's glamour division is heavyweight. This guy can go to cruiserweight, and with 3 different belts, 4 belts to choose from, he could potentially actually win a title in the cruiserweight division and legitimize his whole career. You guys hear what I'm saying? By the way, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, man. It doesn't cost you anything. Support your boy. Subscribe to the channel. Join the channel. Be a part of Knucklehead Nation. I'm really enjoying the conversation you guys are having in here. I'm really enjoying. Actually, I mean, there's quite a bit of decorum in here. I'm a little bit surprised you guys are being this kind to each other. I must have gotten lucky and stumbled upon a slightly mature, educated audience today, which I didn't really expect post Jake Paul fight. And it's great to see. Also, get your Fighters Rep merch in the link below. Help me continue to grow the channel where I drop damn near daily content. And, any super chats are greatly appreciated. Listen, I just reinvest them right back into the channel. Try to get you guys some more good content, funny content, all about boxing. We touch on other sports here and there as well when big things happen. And you get it from the mind of an attorney / promoter. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So subscribe. So that's what I think his next step should be. No, he's on another level. It should have been a straight fight. F Netflix, you proved how rigged it is. All due respect. I see what you're doing, but I'm not buying it. I believe he's talking to me. Well, that's why opinions are great. And yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody in here. Shout out to Nate. I'm off now. Thanks for the talk, though, mate. Keep up the good work. I subscribe. Appreciate you, Sunoy, man. I appreciate it very much. You have a great one. They hated Tyson. Here's Gumbo Biddy Rowe. They hated Tyson for knocking out guys so fast. The guy will be out before they got in their seats. Exactly, dude. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And I'm trying to explain to you guys that, people want to watch a show. Helen Necessary says, who won? Anthony Joshua, as predicted on this channel, 6th-round knockout. And may have broken his jaw. Yeah, he rigged getting his jaw broken. Yeah, he rigged getting his jaw broken. Shout out Nebula9994. You definitely don't want to rig getting your jaw broken. Listen, if you told me 270 million, 135 if we split it, that you have to fight Anthony Joshua, I'm telling you, yes, I'm fighting Anthony Joshua. But if you tell me you're going to get your jaw broken in the process, I'm hesitating just for a sec. I'm hesitating just for a sec because I'm not trying to have my mouth all wired shut. You destroyed my face. Do I have to get some sort of reconstructive surgery? I mean, with all that money, I'll just buy a new jaw, right? I'll just buy a new face. But that's scary. That's a scary situation. I don't want to not be able to eat, which is my favorite thing to do in life. I don't want to not be able to eat and suck my food through a straw for I don't know how many months. I don't want to do that. Yeah, rig the medical bills and compromising any future fights he takes with a suspect jaw now. The risk of getting astray from Jake Paul wasn't worth ending his boxing career. don't even know what you guys are talking about. Rudy F says, I like the hat. Thank you, brother. It is a fez or a tarbush. It's also been called a tarbush. What do you guys think? What do you guys think is next for Anthony Joshua? I hope it's that Tyson Fury fight, if I'm being honest with you guys. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And what do you guys think is next for Jake Paul? Like I said, he mentioned it in the post-fight. He said he's going to heal. He's going to take some time off. He's been going hard for 6 years. What do you think is next for him? I think he's going to come back and go for cruiserweight gold. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's going to come back. He's going to go for cruiserweight gold. That's the only thing that makes sense, in my opinion. That's the only thing that makes sense, in my opinion. Got to come back and go for cruiserweight gold. You can still take a goofy circus sideshow fight here and there in the process. But that's what he needs to do, man. That's what he needs to do. Will Fury take the bait? AJ said he was talking ish about him. Listen, I don't think it's any bait, Gumbo Biddy Rail. I don't think it's any bait, my brother. The bait is the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing history if Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight. I still believe it. As far as generating money and revenue and viewership, that's the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing history. Because let's not forget, Tyson Fury filled up a stadium. Anthony Joshua filled up a stadium multiple times without having one another as a dance partner. What's going to happen? They're going to have to build a new stadium for the amount of British people that are going to show up to that fight. They're going to have to build a new stadium. The Gypsy King versus Anthony Joshua. It's going to be absolute madness. It's going to be absolute madness. That's not bait. That's opportunity. That's the full meal. Zadrian Disney says, Christmas miracle, Jake Paul trust talker gets a knockout. Not sure what he meant there. Either Fury or a rematch with Dubois. I would love to see both. I would love to see both. I actually think, J. Nick, tell me what you think. And by the way, guys, if you're here and you haven't subscribed already, I greatly appreciate it. There's almost 200 of you in here right now. And I've only gotten a few subscribes here, so I would greatly appreciate it. We go live after all the big fights. I drop daily boxing content and content about sports. And, I'd appreciate you guys subscribing. J. Nick, tell me what you think. I think if AJ fights Dubois 10 times, AJ wins 9. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. I think AJ wins 9 times out of 10 because the form he was in before that Dubois fight, going into the Dubois fight, man, he looked incredible. He looked incredible. I thought he was going to wipe Dubois out. I was wrong. I think Dubois just caught him. I think Dubois just caught him. Fury acts like he wants to, might, after seeing his performance, thinking he could do better, obviously, but he already knows AJ's better than what he showcased. I think this fight will bait, as the homie Gumbo Biddy Rell says. I think this fight will bait Tyson Fury to come out and want to fight AJ. They should fight in Rome in the Coliseum if Fury and AJ fight. That would be sick. That would be sick. By the way, I think it's Matchroom, man. Shout out to Eddie Hearn. They're doing a fight in Ghana. How sick is that, dude? A fight in Ghana? Dude, that's how you build, bro. That's how you build an audience in different places, bro. Shout out to them for doing that. Fury witnessed AJ destroy Ngannou, who almost stopped Fury himself. He knows AJ's a sleeping giant waiting to be awoken. You think it was a clean fight, asks the 69 play 69. I do. If what you mean by clean fight is it wasn't rigged, no, I don't think this fight was rigged at all. If what you mean by clean fight is it was clean and that they weren't messy, no, it was a bit messy. Jake Paul was grabbing onto this guy's legs, grabbing onto him, dangling off of him. And, but that's just proof, in my opinion, that this was a real fight. That is just proof, in my opinion, that this was a real fight and that Jake Paul was trying his absolute best to win this fight. And he just didn't have the firepower to do it. He didn't have what it took to beat a guy like Anthony Joshua, but he gave it his all. He got up off the floor 3-4 times. He got up. He was trying. This was a real fight. And I felt this would be a real fight because you can't just rig a fight. It's the state athletic commissions that are sanctioning these fights. You'd have to pay them off. Do you know what kind of ridiculous time you can get for that kind of stuff? The referee was serious. He wasn't playing with neither of them. He obviously wasn't in on it. I don't think anybody was in on anything. I think they all knew what was going to happen. I think Jake Paul knew he was probably going to get knocked out in this fight. I thought you could see it in his reaction when he went, woo, after AJ landed that big punch. I thought he knew. I thought he wanted to go in there and see what it felt like to get ripped apart by a legitimate boxer. Jake Paul's crazy like that. I mean, he's getting so much money. So what? You think he's afraid to lose when he's getting paid $135 million afterwards? He told you in the post-fight press conference that he's won in life. Ariel Helwani said usually guys, after they lose a fight like this, usually guys are upset. Did Jake Paul look upset? He didn't look upset. And he said, listen, he said, I'm a winner in life. I'm a winner in everything. Beautiful family, beautiful fiance, Netflix, tons of money. He's in Miami. Dude lives in Puerto Rico on an island. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This guy's living the life we all wish we could live. This guy's living the life we all wish we could live. Shout out to him too for not only giving it his all, but like I said, the thing he deserves the most praise for is what he did to that undercard, those ladies on that undercard. He gave them a lot of shine. He gave them a lot of love, a lot of shine. Alicia Baumgardner. Layla Boudouin, I think is how you say her name. A lot of shine. A lot of shine. And if he wins the rematch with Dubois, then they will talk Tyson is taking the fight winner rematches with Usyk for heavyweight title. Look at that, Jay Nick. But look, I think Fury's next, man. I think Fury's next. I mean, after the way Dubois got knocked out by Usyk in his last fight, a fight versus Fury matters more, means more. I think it means more because Fury put up a better fight against Usyk than Dubois did. Dubois got finished by Usyk twice. I think Dubois is a good fighter, but I don't think he's on the level of a Tyson Fury. And I still don't. I need to watch him in there with Anthony Joshua again. I need to watch him in there with Anthony Joshua again to be convinced that he's better than Joshua and didn't just clip Joshua. I feel like he clipped Joshua. There's a clip clause in every fight and in every prediction, knuckleheads. I came up with clip clause with my homie, one of the best boxing coaches in the world, Derek Collinsworth, down in Houston, Texas. We came up with clip clause. There's a clip clause. In every prediction, we would say, hey, we think this guy's going to win, but there's a clip clause. In every contract, you might get clipped. Knuckleheads, I really appreciate you guys joining me, man. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the comment section below. Any suggestions? Anything you want to hear from me? Anything you want to see from me? Let me know, man. Let me know. I want to grow this together with you guys. I want to grow Knucklehead Nation with you guys, man. We got over 14,000 subscribers. I want this thing to keep growing. This is where we talk about boxing. You get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth from the mind of a promoter / attorney. That's what we do here, man. We get together. We got each other's back. This is the man's club, man. And women are welcome too. We got each other's back. We talk fight sports. And we do this thing, man. Hell yeah, I'm watching the World Cup when it comes around. I love that shit, Bert. Gumbo Biddy Rell says Archie Manning said he was going to take less NIL money season at Texas. If you have any celebrity in our generation, that equals money. Are you watching the Andrew Tate fight? I didn't watch it. I'm going to watch it, maybe drop a video about that as well. Knuckleheads, we've been on over an hour, man. I appreciate you guys joining me. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Join the channel. It's just $9.99 a month to help me continue to grow. We're going to be doing this after all the big fights. I drop damn near daily content on here. I bust my ass on this channel. I hope you guys join me in this journey. We can grow Knucklehead Nation to something spectacular. Maybe we can meet up and do trips to fights and stuff like that. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. I did used to put fights together. The fights are on this channel. Maybe if I get enough support, one day we get back to that. All kinds of possibilities on this channel, man. I appreciate you guys being with me. Subscribe, join, get your Fighters Rep merchandise, the link below. And follow me on Instagram too, man. If you want to get at me, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, whatever it is. I look forward to hearing from you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Subscribe, and I'll be dropping a video tomorrow. By the way, we go live on the Fighters Rep podcast every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific. That's every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific. You could join me live. I also go live after all the big fights, usually on Saturdays. Today was a Friday. I go live. Join me. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, man. You guys were amazing today. Some great opinions in here. Let me know what you think if you didn't already. Have a great night, guys. Appreciate you guys.